Cursed. Cursed. We all go a little mad sometimes.
There's a formula to it. A very simple formula.
I saw the boogeyman. I saw him outside.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Hey everybody, welcome to a brand new episode of Tomb of Terrors with me, Old Man Brad. Whether you are new to the show or returning for another episode, thank you so much for giving me a listen. If you love the show, drop me a review on your favorite podcast app, or you can become a patron, patreon.com/oldmanbrad, as well as make sure to follow me over on Letterboxd. Just look up Old Man Brad. Same with Blue Sky and Instagram. Old Man Brad out there everywhere. So this episode, I have a new vampire movie, Vampires of the Velvet Lounge, that I'll be talking about. And I had the chance to talk with the writer and director of the film, Adam Sherman, about the movie, which this film has some interesting pieces to it, an interesting style to it, that I will dive into a little bit more as we roll into the movie. I don't want to give too much here up front. I will talk about more of that after the interview. Before we dive in the interview, I want to say, if you are in the Cincinnati area, come out to Frightful Fridays on the third Friday of the month. So thankful to be partnered with the Esquire Theater to host a horror screening once a month. We just had our screening last week with Lucio Fulci's Don't Torture a Duckling. We haven't locked in our April screening yet, but make sure you keep it right here because this will be the first place you hear about it or over on my social media. But I'm excited for what we have coming. So make sure to come out third Friday of the month at 10 p.m. Let's watch a movie together. All right, it's time to take our trip to see the Vampires of the Velvet Lounge.
You're about to go to the kingdom of paradise.
No.
See the stairway to heaven.
Do you want to hear my crazy fetish?
I don't know. How crazy is it?
There's a hunter upstairs. She's heavily armed.
There could be an army of these beasts.
Do you want me?
You're close to the target.
I'm Ramsey the Devil, baby. Let's just get this awkward first kiss over with.
A coven of vampires is hunting on dating apps, where they meet vampire hunters and schedule dates. The nights that unfold are action-packed modern horror madness. This is written and directed by Adam Sherman. It stars Mina Suvari, Deachin Lachman, India Isley, Stephen Dorff, Tyrese Gibson, Mark Boone Jr., and many others. This just came out in theaters last week, and I think it's hitting digital here very soon. As I said at the opening, this is very stylized. Had me thinking a lot of Sin City. There are some stylistic choices for the vampires I really liked. I'll dive into more of that after our interview. But overall, most of what I saw, I enjoyed. There were pieces that didn't fully click for me. I'll kind of get into that here a little bit later, but I love the style choices. And I like this twist on a vampire story with a real historical character of Elizabeth Bathory. I'll dive more into my thoughts on the film itself after our interview. So why don't we roll into my interview with Adam Sherman, and I will talk to you on the other side. The Vampires of the Velvet Lounge are seductive, stylish, and of course, a little dangerous. Here to chat about the film, I'm thrilled to welcome in writer, director, producer Adam Sherman to the show. How you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for the introduction. It's great to be here.
Now, how did you come up with the idea for the Vampires of the Velvet Lounge?
It was a combination of just stuff that I've been interested in intellectually and just in studying literature and history, like since I was a kid, really, mixed with suddenly wanting to make a vampire movie as an adult. A lot of these ideas, like having interest in vampires, vampire novels, and Elizabeth Bathory, and also absinthe and the Green Fairy mythology. I've been interested in those things since I was like 12 years old. And vampire literature, I liked more than vampire movies even. once I decided I was going to write a script of a vampire movie, and I wanted to base the character on Elizabeth Bathory, but I don't have the budget to make a good period piece, like a really good period piece with really rich visuals and like that doesn't look like a Renaissance fair. I couldn't do that, so I wanted to do it in the modern world. And then, what does the modern world look like? Like right now, we're doing an interview, but this is remote. We're both looking at a screen. So the modern world isn't just like modern cars anymore. It's all of these screens and video chats and all that kind of stuff. And it even goes into then dating. So then, once I decided to not do a period piece and set it in modern times, it's like, this is what modern times looks like. It's like what we're both looking at right now. So it became like dating apps and whatnot, and, a lot of video chats like in the movie. I don't know if I even answered your question, but I rambled.
No, you're totally fine. The film, I mean, it has a very comic book noir kind of almost Sin City-esque feel to it. Was that always, you're talking about setting it more modern. Was that kind of always the style when you decided Renaissance may not work?
Yeah, I wanted it to be modern. Yeah, and it was like sort of like I wanted it to be like film noir, but also like horror movies I grew up watching. Like I like horror movies from the like 70s, 60s, early 80s, kind of horror movies that I like, that terrified me when I was a little kid, because I have a brother that's 5 years older than me. So I started watching horror movies really regularly, probably younger than I would recommend for a child to start. In those days, it was just like what we did. And like people are all into these trigger warnings and stuff these days. It's like, basically I grew up in the woods in Vermont, and like, in the winter, on the weekends, we didn't have anything else to do but like watch horror movies and like trigger each other. And then we'd have nightmares and we'd like talk about it the next day. It's like, what did you do? That movie gave me nightmares. Like, oh, it's crazy. It's like, we like loved it. It was like, there was like nothing, there was nothing else to do. And that like really amused us. It's like, we liked, triggering each other, or like being triggered by movies. It's like, what does that even mean, being triggered? Does it mean like truly being captivated? Does it mean when something really gets into your psyche and you like have dreams about the movie? It's like there's some power in the storytelling, but there's also power in the idea of escapism, where it's like if you're really being brought into another world to such an extreme where it gets into your subconscious and you're dreaming where you're still in that world. It's like, I think that can be great. It can be healing, even if the movie is really dark. That can be a really healing, relaxing experience for people.
Movies are, for me especially, it's an escape. I want to be entertained for however long and just kind of be.
Yeah, it's not always, I mean, in order for, at least for me, in order for something to be captivating and create escapism, there has to be something interesting, or like I'm like learning a little bit, or meeting characters that are interesting, or like, all of the things that would make a movie interesting and hold my attention and create the escapism is, just built in, like having a great cast and a crew and interesting locations and all the things required to make a good movie are like built into the movie being able to, or a good story. You wouldn't escape if the movie was too poorly done,
I want to speak to the cast. You cast Mina Savari, Stephen Dorff, India Isley, and so many others. How was it working with the cast that you got for this film?
It was great. Like I got really lucky with the cast, and I'm glad that like so many great actors like were into the script and wanted to work on the movie. Like that was like super cool. We shot it like quickly, like we didn't have like a lot of time. So it was pretty intense working with that many experienced, eccentric actors playing all these different complicated characters in all of these different complicated situations that I had invented in like a short period of time. It was like, directing that amount of cast in, like a situation like they're all in a car, or 5 actors, and they're like all really experienced. They're great actors, and they're also really interesting, intelligent people. You know what I mean? So it's like to direct them all like rapidly in a situation like in a car where they're all asking questions and there's even stunts and like blood hitting them and all kinds of craziness. It's like a pretty it's a pretty challenging and also wonderful experience for me. Part of what I love about filmmaking is the challenge. Like, it really challenges me in almost every way. Like the stamina, like we shot all nights pretty much. I think for everyone it was challenging to like long nights in Savannah. Like that time of year was getting colder. I would show up to work just dressed, in just a long sleeve shirt. But by 4:00 in the morning, I would be dressed like I was ready to go snowboarding. It was like the temperature would just drop, and then we'd be like standing and working really fast. And I mean, it's amazing like what some of the actors do when that temperature, with they're covered in fake blood or even just wearing their wardrobe. Like sometimes I'm just like, whoa, like, it's like you're not dressed like for the temperature and you're out here too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We worked at like a feverish pace, like really fast, shooting a lot each day. And those long hours at night was also, it's extremely challenging physically and then also psychologically, because you have to stay like physically healthy and then like psychologically healthy and focused as much as possible. It really like sort of challenges every aspect. At least for me, it challenges me in like every way, which is one of the things I find interesting about filmmaking.
India Isley and Stephen Dorff, I mean, they've been in vampire films before.
Yeah, I had a handful of people. Also, India Isley and Stephen Dorff were in some known vampire movies, but Mark Boone Jr. was also in John Carpenter's Vampires.
Yep.
I've worked with him a couple times, and then I think a couple of the other actors also had been in vampire movies. So that's one of the wonderful things about making movies, is sometimes you attract actors that are into that. Like when it works out well, like most of the actors that are in the movie are attracted to the type of material. Or like, Stephen Dorff was ready to play a vampire again for whatever reason. Like he said he'd been turning down vampire parts for 20 years. Well, what he said to me was that he felt like everyone wanted him to play the same vampire.
We wanted him to be Deacon Frost.
Yeah, they wanted his iconic character in Blade to just like be in another movie, where I was trying to cast him as a completely different character that just happened to also become a vampire.
Your movie, you mentioned Elizabeth Bathory. So this is an historical legend person in real history. And then you have vampires. And your vampires, without giving too much away, what makes your vampires a little bit different than what we know in lore?
Of course, I tried to mix like the classic vampire folklore rules and mythology into it, but I do think I approached it in a different way, because I was writing about people with powers. Like I didn't look at it like, okay, I'm writing about a vampire. It was like, I'm going to write about, this is someone with like unusual powers and an unusual background. The vampire, different sort of rules which get broken and changed, and different, like, most vampire movies are spin-offs of Dracula also. It's like, I mean, there's a lot of vampire movies that are just something completely different, but probably half of them are spin-offs of Dracula.
Yeah.
Or maybe more. I was trying to write like people with powers. Like they could have been some evil fairies or witches or just individuals. Like it wasn't like vampire first, character second. I was really going to character first kind of writing style, where I was just writing different characters and their friendships and their relationships and stuff like that. And then they happened to be vampires.
I know you said at the beginning interest that you had vampires and history of them in literature. What made you decide to put Elizabeth Bathory as part of your story? Well,
I had always thought that Elizabeth Bathory, like by name, I mean, I think she's a big influence in, so like she really existed. She was a countess. And I think like she influenced vampire literature. I think she was a big influence of the book Dracula. I mean, not just Vlad the Impaler. I think Elizabeth Bathory is actually closer to the character of Dracula than Vlad the Impaler. They probably wanted a male reference rather than a female reference. But I mean, Elizabeth Bathory was a serial killer that was bathing in blood, and Vlad the Impaler was a wartime tactician who, you know, he's often talked about in cruel ways because he was impaling people. But when the Turks finally did defeat him, he wound up with his head on a spike too. So he was also impaled. Everyone was impaling each other then and doing horrific things. And they still are today. We just found like more, like more ways, you know, more efficient ways of decimating each other by now than just, you know, going up and impaling someone. But impaling's like pretty popular. You know, crucifixion was popular as a public way of like displaying a human's body being dead, like as if they're a billboard, you know, and like the Romans crucified like, you know, the movie Spartacus. So that's a true story. And like, you know, they were, you know, in the end, they were all, you know, there was a slave rebellion and they all wound up crucified. There was like thousands of people crucified all over the hillside. You know, I don't think that's something worse than what Vlad the Impaler did. But what Elizabeth Bathory did was unique because she believed that bathing in the blood of young women would prolong her life. And so she wasn't doing this like the Romans were, of course, not going to let the slaves take over their city. It was a war. And Vlad the Impaler was also in a war. But Elizabeth Bathory was like, I want to bathe in your blood so I can live forever or stay young. This is more vampire-like behavior.
She was kind of an easy fit for the vampire lore, basically.
I believe that she actually had all along contributed to vampire lore.
Yeah.
But people weren't calling her out by name, and a lot of people don't know that much about her. So I wanted to have her be the character in the movie. Yeah. Like as I mentioned earlier, I mean, you know, if I had like 10 times the budget, I would have tried to do a period piece probably. But as it ended up, I made the movie that I made.
This is getting ready to release. People are going to be able to see it far and wide. What do you hope audiences kind of take away from the movie as they take a trip to the Velvet Lounge?
You know, there's so many different types of people where I don't have one hope for one type of audience. And also, like, even the world has changed so much. Like, when I was a kid, like, in the 80s, watching horror movies, the way the world was and what you could take away from a movie was different than it is now.
Yeah.
So right now, movies just go on to, you know, this is going to be theatrically released on Friday, so it'll be in movie theaters all over the place. But you know, movies just go on, you know, like a vampire movie like this will just go on to streamers and appear right next to a big superhero movie, where the audience for the big superhero movie and the audience for the vampire movie that I made, I don't think they're the same people.
Yeah.
But there's not as much way to guide people to which movie maybe they should even be watching. So I don't think this movie is made for everyone to just watch and enjoy. I think it's made for some people to watch and enjoy. Those people finding it at all is what I hope, really. You know what I mean? And then what would they take away from it? I'm not like so egotistical, or I don't feel like I have like this amazing power where, you know, like you, for example, you watch a lot of horror movies. I don't think you're going to like, or movies, I'm sure you study other things too. I don't think you're going to watch my movie and like take something magical away from it. I just, you know, hope people watch it and enjoy it, but the right kind of people.
Yeah.
I hope that it finds the right kind of people, and that those, you know, because there's some kinds of people who just offend. And I'm not trying to offend people. I mean, I don't care if I do, to be honest with you, but I'm not trying to. What I'm hoping is just that it'll find the people that would appreciate it or could appreciate it.
We're coming up at the end here, Adam. I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day. Where can people kind of either follow along to you or follow along to the movie to kind of see anything more about it or what you have, you know, coming up?
It's pretty easy to find either. You can find me on IMDb, of course, or just Google Adam Sherman film, and then same thing with Vampires of the Velvet Lounge. You can literally just Google Vampires of the Velvet Lounge or find Vampires of the Velvet Lounge on IMDb. There's also a Vampires of the Velvet Lounge website. You can see all the different movie theaters that it's playing in and all the different states. You could just Google Vampires of the Velvet Lounge and look at the website for movie theaters.
Well, thank you so much for taking time to chat with me today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I want to thank Adam again for taking time out of his day to chat with me. It's always very enjoyable to talk to the filmmakers, to find out more about the film, more of what they were thinking as they were creating this, especially him as the writer and the director, how he kind of came up with the story. And as I said before, like, this made me think of Sin City quite often. There were a lot of stylistic choices that kind of hit like that. It felt like a comic book in many scenes. There's a scene where a character gets run over by a car. The way they're driving the car with the vampire women in the car, the way the blood splatters and everything else, it just felt like it was out of pages of a comic book. Deshen Lachman plays a vampire hunter, and her voiceover she does, where it's very deep voice, scratchy, monotone. It felt like that noir voiceover you get from an old movie or even from Sin City. I could see the influence there for sure. I really liked how the vampires in the lounge, because when you go to the lounge, like, these vampires use dating apps. So they use dating apps to lure people in. You kind of meet them. You do little, like, a FaceTime video chat with them, and then they invite you down to the lounge. These group of men, Steven Dorff, Tyrese Gibson, and them, they get invited to the lounge. They come down, and what they do, they serve you absinthe. And then as you drink the absinthe, the story behind absinthe, you start to drink it, and you start to see a green fairy. You kind of hallucinate and see a green fairy. So what happens here is these vampires turn into that green fairy. That's what you see them turn into as you're drinking the absinthe. And when they turn into that fairy, that's when they kill you. I loved that twist on it. The way he wrote it to go that way. It was very colorful. Again, very comic book-esque. The style that it was put in, the way it kind of was portrayed. And then you have this historical figure of Elizabeth Bathory, who's a perfect setup for this. Her whole story is she would take women and bathe in their blood. You know, she hangs them up. She sits in a bathtub. They kill them, and the blood drains down as she bathes in it. She always thought doing so would, you know, she would become eternal. She would live forever. She would stay young. And as Adam said in the interview, it was probably the basis for many, many vampire stories, which is probably true. A lot of it was probably based around her and how that story of either drinking the blood, as vampires do, keep them young and immortal. The story of her, it was bathing in it to keep her young and hopefully live forever. I mean, overall, this movie is very enjoyable stylistically. It feels like a comic book with the voiceover, feels like a vampire Sin City, so to speak. Steven Dorff, he turns into a vampire. It's going to be very hard for him to get away from Deacon Frost. He even kind of feels that way a little bit when he does. India Isley, who was in Underworld Awakening, the fourth one, she was the girl in it. That movie, she was the mixed breed. So this one, she's a full vampire, but I liked her character because her character is wrestling with many years of being a vampire. She hasn't seen the sunrise in forever. She hasn't gotten to experience many things that she did when she was human. I wish the movie would have dove into her character more because I liked her arc more than others. So I kind of wish we could have got more of her story, honestly, over Elizabeth, but that's just me. With the vampire hunter herself, I did want a little bit more of her backstory, a little bit more of things with her. And then the action. If you watch the trailer, it seems like it's going to be a lot more action-packed than what we got. The few scenes that we got were fun, but I wanted more vampire hunter going after him. Maybe it's Blade and Underworld and those other types of films that I've seen before in the past that just made me want more of that. but in some places of the film, it does kind of slow down, and I wanted it to kind of pick up and move along, especially the way this style is. My favorite scene is the scene where Elizabeth, played by Mina Suvari, and Joan, played by India Isley, they're driving in a car. They end up hitting someone. The way that they're just, it's shot, it feels like a comic book, and it's very over the top stylized. And then they run over a man, and it's really hilarious. And it's my favorite scene overall of the film. I loved how they implemented absinthe and fairies in the way the lounge is this place for the vampires. I don't know. It left me wanting more. I needed a bit more to it. I didn't hate the movie. I'll give it a recommend to go check out Vampires of the Velvet Lounge. I just wanted a bit more from it. All right, that will do it for my thoughts with Vampires of the Velvet Lounge. It's a mild recommend. Go check it out. I love the style. I love the twist on the vampires. And it has a few fun scenes in it, but it left me wanting just a bit more. So on my way out, as I always do, I'll give you a double feature to go with Vampires of the Velvet Lounge. You know, it's easy to go with something stylistic like Sin City, something over the top like Underworld, or even Blade. You know, From Dusk Till Dawn is another one that's kind of two movies in one and very over the top. But one of my favorite vampire movies is John Carpenter's Vampires from 1998. And that will be my double feature for this. And one of the actors from Vampires of the Velvet Lounge, Mark Boone Jr., was in John Carpenter's Vampires. So you kind of got that connection there. Love John Carpenter's Vampires. And that will be my double feature for this week. Vampires of the Velvet Lounge, John Carpenter's Vampires. Go check them out together. All right, well, that will do it for this episode of Tomb of Terrors. Thank you so much for listening to the show. Just make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any episode going forward, whether it is interviews like this episode, short reviews that I do, Tales from Tubi, Versus, or The Year of Nashi, which the next episode for my year with Paul Nashi will come out later this week. With Brett from Dissect That Film, we talk Dr. Jekyll and the Werewolf. You won't want to miss that. We had a pretty good discussion. But each month throughout the year, I am doing a new Paul Nashi movie, doing additional movies over on Patreon, and I will be doing additional ones also on my YouTube page. Go check out the YouTube page for additional reviews and discs of The Damned as well. I have a lot of things going on all over the place. Go check them out. I'll be back soon with a brand new episode. Just snuggle up in that blanket, turn off the lights, because it's okay to be scared. We'll talk to you later, everybody.